Thank you. My name is Daniel. As you heard, I am the Africa representative of the Global Peace Foundation, and it is my honor to represent the Global Peace Foundation and also to represent my country, Africa, at this critical panel on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, which is the 80th. I begin by extending my deepest gratitude to the Journalists and Writers Foundation for this invitation, and to our valued partner, which is the Harmony Institute in Kenya, under the leadership of my friend, Dr. Erican Taskin. Our shared commitment to collaborative peace building makes this platform not just a speaking opportunity, but a testament to the power of partnership itself. At the Global Peace Foundation, our founder, Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon, defines youth not just by a number on a birth certificate, but by the state of one's mind and heart. It is youth. Fundamentally, youth is the ability to dream, and to look at the world not just as it is, but as it ought to be. And across the globe today, we are witnessing a seismic shift, an awakening driven by a generation of dreamers who have refused to accept the status quo. We have seen the raw power of this dream on the streets of Nairobi, Dhaka recently, in Kathmandu. The Gen Z's uprising is not merely a protest, but I like to call it the necessary pangs, the necessary birth pangs of a new civilization. So this quest by the youth is the sound of a new civilization struggling to be born. Ladies and gentlemen, our young people have refused to accept corruption as the norm. They have refused to accept bad leadership, and they're taking action. Yesterday in the panel, I saw the young people who are presenting here, and they're saying they're lighting, fire on the issues that have been ignored for a long time. So this civilization that our young people want is a civilization that rejects the old diseases of corruption and discrimination, and demands a world built on integrity, justice, and the radical idea that humanity is one family and a God. But a dream, no matter how powerful, requires a blueprint for action. It requires us to equip these dreamers, our young people, not just with passion, but with the tools for transformational leadership. This is the mission of the Global Peace Foundation. And through initiatives that we engage in, like the President's Fellowship, we are intentionally nurturing the next generation of young leaders. We move beyond skills to building character, values, instilling a value-based leadership of service above self and unity over division. At the Global Peace Foundation, we are preparing these young minds to lead a global renaissance, because by 2050, Africa, where I come from, will be home to a quarter of the world's dreamers. They say Africa is the youngest continent. And our work at the Global Peace Foundation is a direct contribution to the blueprint you have all gathered here to discuss, the SDGs. So in pursuit of SDG 4 on quality of education, our initiatives that have transformed over 5,000 educators, believing that to transform education, we must transform the people holistically. So we have this program that says that we need to transform education, especially in the global south, towards 2050, because in the year 2050, we have sitting in your classrooms, if you are educators, we have these 14-year-old, 16-year-old, the Gen Zs, who, as we go towards 2050, will be the presidents, will be the members of parliament, will be the ministers. I think I will be too old, by then. Maybe most of us will be. But the people sitting in class today will be entrusted in the leaders. So our educators and education system have an opportunity today to influence the kind of generation we will have in 2050. And on SDG 8, on economic growth, we have a program called Leap Hubs that have empowered over 3,000 young entrepreneurs in Kenya to innovate and create opportunities. For SDG 15, which is life on land, through our Chandaria nurseries, we have grown over 3 million trees, restoring ecosystems and fostering environmental stewardship. And at the heart of it all, SDG 16 on the peace and strong institution is advanced through our global campaigns for dialogue and unity, from the One Korea campaign to programs preventing violent extremism in Africa. This is how we build peace, through concrete action aligned with the global goals and powered by SDG 17, which is basically a partnership. Yet, as the great Genghis Khan said, that if one person has a dream, it is just a dream. But if many share into that dream, ladies and gentlemen, becomes achievable. So today, from this global stage in New York, I call on you to share in the dreams of those who are silenced. Let us share in the Korean dream of our founder, Dr. Preston Moon. We cannot speak of empowering while the youth of North Korea remained isolated from civilization itself. North Korea is the only country today who, have no freedom. They're still living in the past, basically dictatorship. So today, in this UNGA, we are urging the global community to prioritize dialogue for a peacefully reunited Korean Peninsula. If we can have peace, and unification of the Korean Peninsula, then we will be able to achieve peace in the other side of the world. So let us share in the dreams also, like the fellow panels mentioned, the dreams of the Afghan girls who dream only of classrooms and not confinement. So we call for the immediate reversal by the Taliban on the ban on education for women and girls. The Taliban should know that to deny education is to murder a dream. And I know today, if President Trump considers it a priority, in Afghanistan, I'm sure that, President Trump and the leaders today gathered at UNGA can use their power to ensure that the Afghan girls, are at least given the right to education. And in my continent, Africa, we must share the dream of a peaceful future. It is time to silence the guns in the Sahel, the Eastern DRC, the Sudan. The sound of gunfire is the sound of stolen futures. But peace is not just the absence of war. It is the presence of opportunity. For an African renaissance to flourish, we must break down the walls between us. I call upon African leaders to eliminate visas within Africa and allow for free movement of people. As you know, Africa was just a continent that was, just sliced into pieces during the Berlin Conference by the colonizers. And so today, African leaders are, basically using the same boundaries, to restrict freedoms amongst themselves. I think African leaders should gather the courage to bring down visas and allow free movement in the continent. Let our dreamers, who are our youth, let our innovators, let our traders move freely, as our data moves freely. And to our partners in the West, we in Africa extend a challenge, share in the dream, in this dream. We would want the West to dismantle restrictive visa practices that target, especially the African youth. It's very difficult for an African youth to get visas to come to the West, even if it's a legitimate, reason to travel. These barriers are not just policies, but they are a statement of mistrust that undermines our shared future as humanity. So today we call upon, the West and, everyone else, let us build bridges and not walls. So the energy is here. The dreamers are emerging. The question before us is whether we will be the architects of their future or the guardians of a broken past. Let us choose to be architects. Let us choose a world of peace, a world of opportunity, and a world where every single person is valued as an essential member of our one family. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I look forward to any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel, for sharing with us. And we have our final panelist, Oluwaseun Okusikov, a Nigerian British lawyer and YAS ambassador. She continues to inspire young people worldwide and is a strong advocate for gender equality and human rights. The floor is yours. We're expecting to hear new and interesting things from you.
For me, I believe that the family is the most basic unit where, the future is nurtured. And therefore, I want to call upon people, families, to take care of, let's nurture our young people within the family. Let's not leave our kids out there, without any direction. So I believe that if the family unit can be strengthened so that every parent is able to educate their kids, ensure that their kids have, have basically been supported towards education, getting jobs or starting business. I think that would be one practical step. If we are able to strengthen the family, then we can be able to strengthen the future. Yeah, let me just say that not just policy gap, but I think corruption is one of the biggest problems that are hindering the growth of young people, especially women, because you see, especially in Africa, corruption is an in thing. Corruption is budgeted for, and when you steal money that is meant for the roads, when you steal money that is meant for infrastructure, you are stealing the future of these young people. You get my point? So this is why the youth are very annoyed, because the politicians are very, very good at stealing, and when they steal, they steal the future of these young people, and so we must come up with intentional, policy, solutions, to ensure that we prevent politicians, African politicians especially, from stealing the future of the young people and the women of Africa, especially. In Africa, they say that if you empower a woman, you empower the whole community. But I saw, for example, in Bangladesh, we had a woman who was the president for a long time and who was also very corrupt. And the Bangladeshi youth were able to remove that woman and replace her with a man who is now the former Nobel laureate, who is now called the chief technical advisor. Yeah, so I don't want to make it a gender issue, but I think, I don't want to say, but I think women are most probably less corrupt than men. And I mean, I'd want to say, and of course, my wife is here, and my wife is always, yeah, she's always, trying to guide me, into the right path. So I think if we get more women into leadership, I think we can be able to have better governance. That's what I think. I think one of the strategies that we have seen, especially in Africa, especially in Kenya, where I come from, is something called affirmative action, where they come up with seats that are designed for women. We have also seats that are designed for youth, but usually this is not enough. I don't believe that affirmative action is enough. I think we need to be more intentional about involving the young people. We need mentorship. We need the youth, especially in, the leaders, especially in Africa, should not fear mentoring the next generation of leaders to take over from them. So, but you have seen in countries, sometimes countries in Africa, we have seen presidents who have been, presidents for almost for life, 30, 40 years. They don't want to go for elections. And sometimes they run against young people, and you see them persecuting those young people. These young people are not even free to campaign in their own countries. So I think we need, I really want to call upon, I saw when President Obama was president, he came up with something called the Young Africa Leaders Initiative to mentor African leaders. So I was asking myself, why do you need an American president to mentor African leaders? Why can't African leaders mentor African leaders? Why are they afraid of mentoring those who can take over from them? So mentorship is, I think, one of the most important, ways we can use to be able to do that. But this is what I said, the family, of course, there are young people who feel like old people should get out of the way. And we discussed it here, right? And we said that that is not possible because we share this world with you. And I said earlier on that some of the old people, for example, my parents, my grandparents, the challenges that they shared when they were young were bigger than what the challenges young people are facing today. For example, those young people were running away from being captured and sold as slaves. You understand? To be sold in America and other places. They shared challenges such as, colonization, So those challenges were much greater than the challenges that young people face today. So my appeal to young people is take advantage of, for example, and we discussed here about digitization, AI, the media. The youth can actually, like there's a lady who said, you can create a table for yourself, but you can use AI to get a competitive edge into business, for example, because the old people don't know how to use AI. So you can use AI to ensure that you succeed in business. So rather than fighting with the old people for the small opportunities, you can actually use AI to get ahead and create better opportunity. And let us be futuristic, because the future is better than the past. That's how I look at it.